A near-perfect 9.9 helped Sally Fitzgibbons win her round 3 heat at the Bali Pro. She now joins Tyler Wright and Steph Gilmore in the quarterfinals. Tyler's brother, 21-year-old Mikey Wright, is the only Australian left in the men's competition. He knocked out compatriot Adrian Buchan. More league now, and it's been a week of self-reflection for the Knights after that demoralising loss to the Sharks. The skipper admits he's sick of dwelling on it and is determined to lead by example against Parramatta at ANZ Stadium tomorrow night. A week of intense scrutiny for the Knights. They know there's nothing left to be said.
It's starting to just feel like a little bit of hot wind, and as a football side, you don't want that creeping in. We can verbally say whatever we want. But it's what we say out there on the field tomorrow night.
The skipper says the key to rediscovering some form lies within.
I think we've seen our potential, and as a group, we just got to get back to believing that sort of football is still in us, which I firmly believe is. We've been trying to talk as a team about what it's going to take to beat this Parramatta side, and that's a team full of positive individuals.
One positive for the side, Sean Kennedy-Dowell has overcome his calf complaint.
He seemed pretty confident, so he's a guy that's been around long enough. He knows his body pretty well.
Meaning there'll only be one change in the backs, with Corey Dennis, the partner Ken Seo, on the left edge.
Yeah, you've got Michael Jennings there, and Bevan French, who likes to skip across, so we'll be expecting a lot of traffic. I just got to do my part and just talk to him, and and listen to him, and just react when he reacts as well. So I think I will be good this weekend, and we've been working really well.
Seo's last meeting with his former club in the NRL was a memorable one. He admits the matchup provides extra motivation.
Yeah, 100%. You don't want them to beat you, beat me as well. I was fortunate to score those 2 tries, but it came off good plays and the players that were around it too, so it was awesome to score those tries.
They went into the last Newcastle netball season as underdogs. Now West are the ones with the target on their backs. The defending champions have started 2018 in the same title-winning form, and they're keen for another crown. It's uncharted territory for West, from outsiders to red-hot favourites, but they're handling it well.
It's the opposite now. We were kind of the unknown last year, and now we've got the target on our back, so we know that. We know what we have to do to get that title again.
After 5 rounds, they're clear on top.
I think consistency is key. There's been a lot of movement in the other teams, so to keep our same 10 girls, it's been really good.
A win in the grand final replay against South, a strong sign for their hopes of back-to-back crowns.
I would be lying if I said it wasn't on our minds, but yeah, we'd love to go back-to-back, and I don't see why we can't.
In Black Diamond AFL, the Hawks are flying high, undefeated and motivated by last season's grand final loss.
That was a pretty devastating loss to get so close. But yeah, I think the boys will definitely be better for it, I think. It was a pretty new side last year. Now to get 12 months together under the belt and to experience that loss, I think we're a much better side because of it.
The 5 new teams have reinvigorated the competition.
It's a new challenge with that many teams to try and make sure everyone's up and about for every game.
The entire round of Newcastle Rugby League will be played tomorrow afternoon. After defeating the ladder-leading Pickers last weekend, West travel to Curry to face the new top-of-the-table side. The Edgeworth Eagles host Lambton in the NPL's match of the round tomorrow afternoon, first versus fourth. It's an opportunity for both sides to skip clear. And Merewether will look to continue its charge in local rugby. It faces the Students tomorrow, while the Bay host Maitland in a top-5 clash. Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's a big day in sport tomorrow.
Far out, heaps of it. Thanks,
Sam.
Stick around, the weather's next.
Tonight's weather is proudly brought to you by the Burton family, Maitland and Port Stephens Toyota.
Call in for their best prices on new Toyotas and pre-owned vehicles.
Time now to take a look at the weekend weather forecast with Gav.
Thank you, Tash. Well, winter has settled in nicely, very much a winter's day across most of the region, and get used to these showers tracking in along the coast, and there's plenty more to come. It's probably going to intensify quite a lot throughout tomorrow for coastal suburban areas. Building up until 9 o'clock this morning and continuing throughout today from this intense low, which is whipping up a wild ocean out there. Still very clear across the majority of the nation. There's a weak little trough line here, but it's going to get gobbled up by this strengthening high in behind it. The low is deep, it's intense, it's perfectly formed, and it is going to make sure that the first weekend of winter feels a lot like that. You can see the wet weather is going to ramp up, pushing in over the Central Coast Newcastle region throughout tomorrow. Sydney's second weekend of vivid will not be as pretty as the first. It is cold, but it is dry throughout southern inland Australia. Tops of 21 for the Alice, feeling the chills also around Brisbane tomorrow morning, but warming in that afternoon sun. On the radar, as expected, Seal Rocks, Port Stephens getting smashed with squally scud showers moving through. All of that activity is going to push in towards the coastal areas overnight and throughout tomorrow. Nowhere did it feel above 12 degrees. For most locations, the majority of the day felt like it never really escaped the single digits, because that's been taking into account the winds, which have backed off over the last couple of hours, but overall they've been really quite strong. There's a little bit of moisture in the atmosphere, particularly along the coast. Howling southerlies again throughout tomorrow, very fast moving along the coast, and you can see trying to bend around to the southeast. That's because the low is going to pull away from the coast, and when it does that, we're going to see all of that wet weather offshore that's hitting Port Stephens and Seal Rocks pump in across the suburban area. So if you're heading out tomorrow night, you're going to be have to be prepared to be hit with some showers, pushing in around the mountain areas on the southern slopes of the Barringtons and potentially reaching parts of the Upper Hunter, where it will be very much a welcome affair. It's going to be cold, it's going to be windy, it's going to be cloudy and wintry, and it's not going to be particularly nice by any means along the coast. The further you move inland, the less shower activity you have, but still pushing in across the suburban areas, rolling off the Waddicans to Colburn, Maitland. Some of that activity pulsing in throughout the Upper Hunter as we move into the afternoon, but more so around the slopes. So places like Dungog, Gloucester, you're going to see a little bit of action there. Season swell, monstrous, dangerous, 5 metres. It is not the place to be, even if you have a really large ship with containers on it. It is going to be a high tide just before 11, sun to rise 6:46, and that moon is now waning away. A pulse in the shower activity, settling a little bit, but the showers, the wet weather, the southerly winds are going to roll on, and you can see we're going to see some moderate totals accumulate along the coast, but very little of it is going to make it to the Upper Hunter, where it's very much needed. Central Coast also, it is going to be a very wintry start to the season. Taking a look at conditions for surfers, it's a no-go zone, and winter is already stealing our beaches. Stocko is just getting absolutely hammered, as they all are. It is a big mess out there. Even those southern protected corners aren't really handling it. Further up the coast, you have to go a long way north to find a little bit of respite from these out-of-control conditions, settling a little by Sunday. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Gav, and that's the latest news. Stick around, our Friday night footy coverage kicks off straight after a current affair.
From all of us here, have a great weekend. Good night.
Good night.